Hello and welcome to Eugene, Oregon on the west coast of the United States for the sixth leg of the Samsung Diamond League. Eugene is the spiritual home of track and field in the USA, and the Pre-Classic is an event which pays homage to one of its most revered stars of yesterday, Steve Prefontaine. And Hayward Field is the home of the Oregon Track Club, where Prefontaine forged a reputation as one of the world's great distance running talents before he was tragically killed in a car accident here in 1975, just hours after his latest victory right here on the track at the university campus. Today though, it welcomes the stars of today from around the world as they continue their quest for Diamond League points, as this year's Diamond League really starts to pick up pace. It's a lovely afternoon here in Eugene. The sun is shining. There's a bit of a breeze down the track, but we have, as you can see there, 18 degrees. It's perhaps a little bit warmer than that out there in the sun. Humidity around about 50%. We're told no rain this afternoon, so all set fair for the great afternoon's athletics. And they've managed to assemble some fantastic fields here. They love their distance running here in Eugene, but we've got plenty of good sprint fields and some great action in the field as well. But we're going to start with the women's 400-meter hurdles, and it's good afternoon to Tim Hutchings.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, it is wonderful afternoon, glorious conditions, and it's one of those stadia, one of those tracks that really has that intimate feel to it, a cosy feel to the arena, and certainly it's one that I would love to have raced on. I know you would have done, Steve, too. There is the lineup for this first event on the international program. Very high quality field in this women's 400-meter hurdles. Look in particular for Lashinda Demus there in lane 4, the world number 1 this year. She's one of the fastest in history now after a wonderful run in Rome about a month ago. Well, there's been a slight tailwind down the home straight. There's Demus, she goes in lane 4. That lineup from the inside. Ebony Collins, the 21-year-old American, former world youth champion, goes in lane 1. Nicole Leach of the USA, 55.5 this year, she goes in lane 2. World Junior Championship silver medalist a few years back. Josanne Lucas of Trinidad in 3, World Championship bronze medalist. Demus is in 4, remember, the World Championship silver medalist last year. Spencer in 5 for Jamaica. Sheena Tosta goes in lane 6. Ajoke Odomuso of Nigeria in 7, and Fawn Dor goes in lane 8 for the USA. The 2nd, 3rd and 4th places from last year's World Championships. Well, away they go. Demus in lane 4 has already started well, and she's well up on the athlete outsider, Kalisha Spencer there, centre of picture. She's past Spencer with 300 metres to run yet. Now Spencer gets into a running, but Demus looking very strong indeed. Also going well out in lane 7 is Odomuzu of Nigeria. But there's Demus in that purple strip, and she's got the field in her hands now. She's moving up on those outsider with just under 200 metres to run. A lot of hard running to do from the rest of them. They want to get near Demus here. The crown of the band, and Demus now comes around towards the state, and going best perhaps outside her is Kalisha Spencer in lane 5. Spencer going well outside her. In 3rd place is Sheena Tosta, but this is Demus now by 5 metres, and this is where she's normally strong. Takes the last barrier well. Good running this from Kalisha Spencer in lane 5. Look at the gap behind this pair, but she wins it by a long way to Demus. 53.03, a new meeting record for Demus there. Spencer in 2nd. I think Tosta hung on to 3rd place. That's not bad at all from Lashinda Demus. She really didn't have a great deal of competition there. Started the season so well with a big win in Shanghai in 53.34. She's gone quicker here, and Steve, that new meeting record was really yet again a bit of an exhibition run.
It was. I'm not sure this was, she'll put it down as one of her best runs of the season. Obviously time tells us that, and conditions, as I said, a little bit tricky. Down the back straight there is a wind, and of course in the 400-meter hurdles it's all about your rhythm and your stride pattern, and she did start out fairly quickly. Sheena Tosta started very quick through the first 200 as well, but Demus in control, and really can't see anybody threatening her, certainly not this year, not in 2010. And who knows, one day that world record isn't too far away, I'm sure.
Well, the gaps behind them were big. Demus winning comfortably from Spencer, but Lucas it was, Josanna Lucas in fact in lane 3, who came in for 3rd place. But she marches on her merry way, Lashinda Demus. There's the scene, really glorious setting, very, very green, forested area this. We get an enormous amount of rainfall here in Eugene and this west coast area of Oregon, and It's reflected very much in the surroundings of the city.
That's why the British enjoy being here. Feels like home. It's always been, as we said, a popular place. I said at the very beginning of the programme, it's just steeped in distance running here, and they do enjoy their athletics. You wouldn't find a more knowledgeable crowd, Tim.
Confirmation of that win for Lashunda Dimas, a meeting record 53.03 from Kalisha Spencer of Jamaica, 53.78. Josanna Lucas coming through 55.08 for third place. And the Diamond League points mean 4-2-1 for Dimas, Spencer, Lucas. And there's the cumulative totals, 12, 4 and 1. Dimas outstandingly far out in front there in this individual discipline.
Well, just if you're still thinking or wondering about the Diamond League format, all of the events are represented in at least 7 of the meets across the 14, of course, so you can work that out there, that Dimas has had 3 victories for her 12 points, 4 points for a victory, 2 for second and 1 for third. Plenty of action in the field today. We've got a great shot put coming up later on, men's shot put, women's pole vault, long jump as well. And it's a really compact arena, this, about 12,000 people. You can't get a ticket, well sold out. Yeah, the NCAA championships here not so long ago. They had the Olympic trials in 2008. It will be the host for the Olympic trials in 2012 as well. Partly because the athletes know they're going to be so well received here at Eugene Track. Hayward Field has seen so many champions, so many wonderful performances as well. It's not just a place for the spectators. The athletes like come here, Tim, because it does have a history of producing good times.
And you get very knowledgeable crowds here too, Steve. It's almost the sort of Zurich of North America, isn't it? This you get packed stadium every year, just about every meeting in fact, and the crowds really do appreciate it. And 1 2 warm-up races, the athletes being introduced to the crowd were warmly greeted, every single name. And we know conditions are good, by the way. There was a domestic mile, I shouldn't say domestic, it was an international mile, but it was very much the B race earlier on. There was one in 3:53, and the first 10 men going under 4 minutes. That was about half an hour ago. The track programme concludes with that Bowerman mile, which promises to be very fast indeed here today. Sub 3:50 as anticipated.
Well, you could probably just pick out athletes on the far side getting ready for what could well be one of the highlights. The first, well, middle distance event, the men's 1,000 metres, and we're told an attempt on the world record. Now that is an incredible world record held by Noah Nguyen, 2 minutes 11.96, set in Rieti. Great distance running track as well, back in 1999. And the man who's going to chase it will be Abu Bakr Kaki. And it's all been really set up for him with pacemakers. More of that in a second. We'll see the whole field. And 1 or 2 brave souls have decided to enter into this as well. Of course, Tim was mentioning the other events we've got on. We've had certainly mile and 1,500 metre races. So these are the men who've had to go at this 1,000. Ryan Brown, Tyler Mulder, Dwayne Solomon. So these are the big names here. Alfred Diego, former world champion at 800. Nick Simmons, America's best at 800 metres. Abu Bakr Kaki will be the man to watch though. Well, if you're going to run around 2:12, you've really got to be going through 800 in somewhere around 1:44. I'm not sure that Kaki has asked for a pace maybe quick enough to sit himself. He has been guilty once or twice in the big 800 metre races of going off perhaps with a little too much exuberance, but they've asked for about 51, go through 600, about 78, there he is. But just a word of warning, most of the men ahead of him on the all-time list are all 1,500 metre runners, so that might give you a sense that it's not always easy for the 800 men to move up to this 1,000 metre distance. Well, that's what he's trying to do. He's already run pretty quick. He's 7th on the all-time list, Kaki, with 2:13.93. That was set 2 years ago. So what do we have in store here? Really important that the pace making is right, Tim. They don't go through this first 200 too quickly, and that they keep it nice and steady, try and hit 400 in around 51 seconds.
I think you're exactly right, Steve. Yes, this is one of the better records on the books, actually. It doesn't receive much attention because it's not a championship distance and it doesn't run too often, this distance. But 2:11.96, quicker than Cove, quicker than a certain Mr. Cram. You've got to be in a pretty special zone to hit that sort of time. And I'm not sure that Kaki is strong enough yet. As you say, it's a strong man's event. There's far more than is the 800 metres. I think there's a real threshold, perhaps, in between the two distances.
Well, that's not bad. In fact, that's pretty good. 50.72. Good pacemaking there from Scherer. And then we're expecting for him to try and make it through to 600. And then Davis Robinson, one of America's top 800-meter runners, will then begin the job of trying to go to 800 meters. So let's see. They're looking for about 78, 118 through the bell. Robinson in the lead. Karki behind him. Not too bad at all. They're pretty close, but Karki's just starting to look a little tired to me. Tim, he's got to be right there with the pacemaker. He's got company as well with Lalang, and then Yego's not too far away. And this is the battle after that. Nick Simmons in the green vest trying to give chase to the other three, but they're well ahead of the pack.
I'm not sure that was quick enough at the bell. There's a significant gap there from Kaki. He doesn't really look like he's hungry for it to me.
Robinson will drop out, 1:45.53, way too slow, and Kaki looks tired to me. In fact, he looks under a little bit of threat from Lalang. And then Yego, former world champion at 800 meters, is another 10 meters adrift. So Kaki, gritting his teeth, having to work hard here. It's not an easy distance, and it all beholds a 800 man to attack this without due respect. It's been a good run from Kaki. He's going to be probably just outside his personal best. 2:13.62. In fact, he takes a couple of tenths off it, but that world record, and indeed a few of those times ahead of him on the world all-time list, remains safe for now. It's a tough race, 1,000 meters.
Well, fastest time in the world this year. It's in fact the 5th fastest time in history there from Kaki, if that's confirmed. 2:13.62. Nick Simmons there, the local hero, coming home. We had a long chat with him yesterday. Delightful lad, Nick Simmons. Huffing and puffing there. He very much an 800-meter man. He believes he's got good potential at 1,500, but I think this again was a furlong too far for him. Kaki, I don't think in his pre-race talk gave due respect to this world record. He's a long way outside it there.
It's easy to come home quick like that, Tim, which he did. He didn't attack it, you're right. He did. He just looked too tired to me with sort of 300 to go. You've got to commit. You've really got to commit. You've got to get through 800 about 1:44 to give yourself any chance. And even then, you've still got to come home pretty strong. You know, he's bouncing around there now, and it's still a good run. Let's not take anything away from him. That's a really good performance. But from a 1:42 man, you might have expected him to be a little closer. One of the names on that all-time list, another great American, Rick Walhuter, hand time 2:13.9, many years ago. That's a name for track fans to conjure with. But he's now gone ahead of Morsley on the all-time list. Right, men's discus finished a little earlier on, and we were looking forward to a great competition here. Didn't quite really get fired up as we'd expected. The Americans had their championships last week, and that in those championships was one or two surprise results, but Jason Young, who took 3rd place there, was 2nd in the American Championships, took 3rd place today, and then Zoltan Carvalho in the 4th round went out at 67.55, and that was just starting to threaten the lead, but couldn't improve on that. And it was actually the man who won in Rome, Piotr Malachowski, the world silver medalist, who yet again in the Diamond League has found his really best form. This was in the 2nd round, 67.66. I think most people thought that might not be good enough at that stage, but he was able to, in fact, in the last round, just sit back and relax because he had the competition completely sewn up. So Malachowski makes it 2 wins in the Diamond League, and he will go to the top of the rankings. As we've seen in a second, there's the full result. Alekna actually down in 6th place, former Olympic champion. Only had 1 throw and then withdrew with injury. And Gerd Kanter, the #1 in the world this year, rather disappointing in 5th place.
Well, you can see the barrier there on the track, and that indicates that the next event is indeed the steeplechase, the women's 3,000-metre steeplechase.
Well, that's the 1,000-metre start list from an event we just saw a little earlier. With the results, we're just waiting to get all of that collated, but Kaki did win in that new meeting record, world-leading time, of course. Not an event that's run all that often. And you can see there the times behind him. Yeah, that Lalang ran well, I thought. Good to see him running well. Yego, again, another 800 specialist, rather faded away. Nick Simmons, that'll be, I think, a personal best for him. Tim, he said his best was 2:17 before today.
I think he said he was hoping for around 2:15, 2:16. So yeah, he should be pretty satisfied with that. Simmons again finished quickly. Very difficult event to run when you haven't had much practice over it and how to gauge your effort over the 5 200-meter segments.
I think it's a great distance, though. I think all 800-meter runners should at least be able to run a good 1,000, and for 1,500-meter runners as well. It's a great sort of distance to meet in the middle there, but you really expect people to be able to run sort of 2:15 if you're real world class at either 8 or at 15.
Well, just looking, if anything, the wind has picked up slightly at the far end of the arena from where you're looking at the moment with this camera shot. There is a flag in the centre by that white roof, and it's blowing pretty stiffly, I have to say. With the wind behind the athletes in the home straight, it would suggest that there's quite a challenging headwind up that back straight. But this next event is indeed the steeplechase, in which we do have a young Spanish lady who is world champion from last year. Marta Dominguez, the 34-year-old, goes in this 3,000-meter steeplechase, an event which is just gradually, having been on the international programme for some half dozen years or so, beginning to gain more and more credibility alongside some of the other more established distance events. There's that field, 12 athletes. We do have a pacemaker. That'll be Adria Hyman of Jamaica, two-time Olympian. And they are looking for a quick time too. They're looking for around 3 minutes per kilometre from the pacemaker to, rather bizarrely, 1,300 metres. That's just over 3 laps, which is 72 seconds per lap. There is some of this field, mostly domestic on that page at least. Of course, the Americans had their own championships, their own national championships in Des Moines last week. And the 3,000 metre steeplechase there wasn't a particularly quick race, I have to say. There were quite a few, in fact, tactical races in the distances. It was very hot in Des Moines. Barbara Parker, freshman, winning the 3A's championships, the UK title last week, who lives in California with her husband. We were chatting to her last night. But of course the big names, Marta Dominguez, Zarodnieva, of course, the world number 6 this year for Russia, also goes in this one. Milka Chemos is the fastest in the world this year. Watch the young Kenyan, she's only 24, 9:11 she has from Rome. Well, as I said, there is a strong US field. Aguilera, she is the American champion from last week. 8:53 rather, she ran last week. 9:53, I should say. There is Zarodnieva and Dominguez with that familiar pink headband. Hyman, of course, as I said, is the pacemaker there on the outside. Dominguez's best this year, 9:17. That was in Huelva in Spain just under a month ago, about 3 weeks ago. She's a wonderfully versatile athlete. She's as I say, the world champion in this discipline, but she's the reigning European champion at 5,000 metres. She's a very competent cross-country runner as well. She's run 8:28 for 3,000 metres on the flat. She, in fact, when she won the European 5,000 title in Gothenburg 4 years ago, she retained her title from Munich 4 years previously. And as the third quickest athlete in history, her personal best 9:07 should put her somewhere ahead of this field. Away they go then. Dominguez, who is a real tough of the track, one of the very few non-African born athletes that can mix it with the best of the African continent, and indeed, as we saw in the Olympic Stadium last August in Berlin, can better them on occasion. Away they go there, and this is a wonderful matchup between Chemos, the world number 1 this year, who's shown wonderful form in recent weeks, second in Shanghai, winner in Oslo, winner in Rome. She won the national championships last week in Nairobi in 9:34. That performance, of course, compromised by quite significant altitude. So we're looking here to be setting off at 3 minutes per kilometre, about 72 seconds per lap, and that, of course, is 9-minute pace. I mean, if I tell you that 9 minutes has only been broached to one time, and that was at the Olympic Games by Gulnara Galkina back in 2008 when she took the Olympic title. Indeed, the Russian is the only athlete ever to go under 9 minutes. And you'll understand why 9-minute tempo here today is perhaps a little bit optimistic early on.
She became a mum, didn't she, just last week, I think?
She did indeed, yes, Galkina. Won't be seeing her for a little while. The American record, incidentally, is 9:12 by Jenny Barringer. That was when she was 5th in the World Championships last year. But Barringer not racing today. That time is very classy. The fastest time in the world is that 9:11 by Chemos Chewa, which she set in Rome. Hyman takes that barrier first. Zarudnieva in that familiar blue and red strip with the Russians in 2nd place. Then in 3rd place with that pink headband right behind them is Dominguez. Little gap there between Hyman and Zarudnieva, and Dominguez in 3rd. Maybe Dominguez feeling they've gone off just a little bit too healthily at this stage.
I think the problem, Tim, here is really going to be for Zarudnieva, almost over-rotated, if you can do that on the steeple. Oh, she's pulled out. Yeah, she took that previous hurdle all wrong, landed awkwardly, and she's done herself some harm there. Now, that's a pity. She looked as though obviously she meant business here today, gone early with the pace. And I was just about to say her problem was going to be that we're not expecting the pacemaker to do more than about 3 laps. And she would have been rather exposed there with the big names behind her. But
well, now you've got the situation where Hyman is out in front and the others 10 or 15 metres back and not doing any good at all. Chemos in 2nd place. Then it's Dominguez. And they come into the straight. And frankly, Zarudnieva pulling out like that has rather taken the teeth out of the pacemaking role of Hyman. In 3rd place, 4th place I should say, is Asefa, a 22-year-old Ethiopian who was 4th in Rome 3 weeks or so back in 9:24. Looks a little bit heavy, Asefa, for my money, as they go through there with the 5 laps to run. Now they're closing up on Hyman.
First kilometre, 3 minutes 2.95, a little slower than they'd been asked for, and as I said, I don't expect Hyman to continue too much longer now that they've caught up to her as well. But that was ambitious, as Tim was saying, the pace that they were looking for. I think Dominguez will be happy the way this race is just starting to develop, though. It's the sort of position she likes to find herself in. Doesn't mind if the pace is a little bit fast early on and then sort of slows. She didn't take that barrier particularly well herself, but then she'll be where she wants to be normally, isn't it? Where she can attack in the latter stages.
You don't often see her leading, Steve.
Nope.
You're right. And I must say that these barriers are significantly lower than the men's, and technique is far less of a factor. Indeed, the Kenyans, I suppose, have thrown the technique textbook out of the window this last 10 or 15 years. When you think about the fact that Hyman drops out there, and now Chemos out in front, but when you think about the amount of time you're actually hurdling compared to the amount of time you're running in between the barriers, it reduces the significance of hurdling technique significantly. And Chemos there just skips over it, both legs going to the same side. There's no hint of any classical technique in the way she clears these barriers, and they are so low you can skip over them almost literally. I think it's a little bit demeaning in a way. I don't like to see it. It's not an attractive style in terms of the way they have to cover the barriers, because it makes them more of a nuisance than a genuine part of the race almost. But anyway, these two are beginning to open up a bit of a gap on Asefa. Dominguez, as you say, Steve, seldom leads, perfectly positioned there, loves to run off the shoulder of somebody over the final 200 or 300 metres. And at the moment, all I can think is that Chemos has got to push on hard here. That first kilometre, 3:02, not quite as quick as they wanted, but let's not forget it was 3:02.95, so it's still 9:09 pace. It would be the quickest time in the world this year if they were able to maintain it. But Chemos here, I'm sure, will be aware that Dominguez is a very, very quick finisher and will want to make this middle section of the race hurt, make these middle laps really count.
Yeah, there's obviously some technique work to be done. Obviously, like Chemos, she's a good runner, and what's tending to happen now with the Kenyans and the Ethiopians, people are being guided into this event, obviously, but without the real technique. And you see the way that she almost hurdles them. I say that technique she uses at the water jump as well, which if you're going to take the water jump without stepping on the barrier, you've really got to do it as an extra stride, as an extra long stride, if you like, and not sort of hang in the air and then drop down into the water. She does that each time round, and that will only help Dominguez as well, who has, I think, better technique. And she's certainly, when they're moving at pace, she's very good at taking, when you get onto the last lap, that itself is a technique. You suddenly change into sprinting and also being able to hurdle as well. And that's where these races can tend to be won and lost. Just look how much Chemos is checking there. And the only thing Dominguez is checking is what's behind it. And the answer is nothing.
2 kilometres then in 6:16, 3:13. That's the second kilometre. Goodness me, against a 3:02. It's a dramatic reduction in pace now that Simon has dropped out of the way, and Chemos certainly hasn't made that middle kilometre count. I think she's playing into the hands of Dominguez here. The Spaniard looking very, very comfortable indeed. She's a superb performer, great competitor, prepares herself immaculately for major championships. She medals just about every time she steps out in a major championship. She's got great speed. She's run 4:04 for 1,500 metres, enormous strength as well. And at the moment, while Chemos was indeed the bronze medalist last year at the World Championships, the leader there, I think the world champion Dominguez has got the beating of her with a couple of laps to go. Certainly looks that way to me. The gap behind them hasn't really grown, incidentally, because Chemos hasn't pushed on this last couple of laps. Sefa is only about 15 metres down. If anything, she's closing on them slightly. And then back behind them, there's a pack of, 3 athletes, I think. That's Corinne Hines of Jamaica, who was 4th in the World Championships back in 2005. She's in 4th place. And with a lap and a half to run, well, Dominguez looks like she's almost holding back, doesn't she, there on the shoulder of the world number 1. Let's wait and see. We might get a surprise here, but you're looking at enormous experience from Dominguez, 10 years older than the young Kenyan who leads. I'm sure Chemos Steve must be aware that Dominguez will be gathering herself, getting ready psychologically for that big kick through the last lap, but will Chemos have anything saved up to counter it?
Well, Dominguez, I think herself is a little tired, but she will raise her game on this last lap. Chemos doing her best to try and pull away, put a little bit of pressure on. And the Spaniard will be wanting to win this. She'll be heading to Barcelona as one of Spain's big hopes to win a gold medal on home soil at the European Championships at the end of the month. Hasn't been a great year so far for the Spanish team. Had a poor European Team Championships, but Dominguez just close enough to unleash that great sprint that she has. But Chemos doing her best to try and open up a little bit of a gap, put some pressure on. Sefa is not too far away. Is Dominguez tiring here, Tim?
Well, I'll tell you what, Chemos has wound it up pretty nicely. She's gradually tweaked it up notch by notch over this last 300 metres or so. And Dominguez has got some work to do. The gap's, what, 2 or 3 metres? She normally saves her rush till late. Chemos there. Oh my word, Dominguez stumbles there at the water jump, and surely that means she's lost too much momentum. She loses 2 or 3 metres there and then, and what a surprise. Unless Dominguez can really pull something out of the bag over this last 100, Chemos is going to take this one. The time isn't going to be particularly quick either. Chemos sprinting away now, an impressive burst there from the young Kenyan to pull away by 20-25 metres, and in fact Dominguez is under real pressure from Chemos, from Sefa, 9:26. Dominguez second, but about 30 metres down. Sefa only 2 or 3 strides behind her, and then the rest of them coming through. I think 4th place was indeed taken by the Jamaican Corinne Hines, but 9:26.72 after an opening kilometre of 3:02. Well, it tells the story, doesn't it? That's the last 2 kilometres, averaging about 3:12, and way outside what was expected. Nonetheless, very impressive performance there from Chemos Chewa to defeat the world champion.
Well, good race there. Maybe a surprise result. Bring you that result shortly. Let's catch up with what happened in the triple jump earlier today.
Yes, indeed, the triple jump for women, with Sultana Frizzell of Canada. Erica McLean setting a new personal best of 14:33. That coming in the second round for McLean, the American. Olga Rypakova, though, well, she's the consummate performer. Opened with a very impressive 14:41. This second round effort from her was her best, 14:45. Good enough for second place on the day from the Kazakh. World number 1 this year, Rypakova, but on this occasion had to give better to Nadezhda Alekina, the 31-year-old Russian. 14:46 was Alekina's best prior to today. That was in Rabat 3 weeks ago. But here, in the first round, with her very first effort, 14:62 to set a new meeting record. and Han Rypakova, the world number one prior to today in Eugene. A sound defeat, winning by some 17 centimetres, Alekina. She is the reigning Russian champion, ranked number 9 in the world last year. Confirmation of that win by Alekina, a meeting record 14.62 from Rypakova's 14.45. And Erica McLean, 14.33, broaching new ground as well for the USA. And of course, Diamond League points being allocated, 4-2-1 for first, second and third in that discipline. And confirmation of that win for Milka Chemos-Chewa. She stays number 1, 926.70, beating the world champion Marta Dominguez with Sofia Asefa of Ethiopia in third place. Season's best and a couple of personal bests there. Good running from the Jamaican Hines and the Americans Franek and Barbara Parker in sixth, 935.17.
Barbara Parker just missing the British record by about half a second there. It's not a bad day, Tim. I know we keep talking about the breeze. I just keep watching the wind readings in the home straight in front of us, and it's really just around about half a metre or so, obviously with them in the home straight, which bodes well for the sprints later on. As we just bring you up to date with the way the diamond race is looking in the steeplechase now. Chemos-Chewa now with 14 points. Was the wind with us when we were running yesterday? It seemed against us the whole way.
It was definitely against us the whole way.
Something was slowing us down. Could be old age.
Jet lag. Put it down to jet lag. No, nothing to do with old age, of course. We shouldn't mention, of course, the fact we had to stop and walk the last mile back of our run. Well, the men's shot put competition also underway. We're just approaching the end of the third round, but Christian Cantwell, the unbeaten world number 1 this year and the world champion from last year, going up to 21 metres 78 with his opener, the big man. Fabulous putting from Cantwell, the 8th longest thrower in history, won the US national title just last week, and the Olympic silver medalist from 2008. He's Mr. Consistency is Cantwell. That still leads, by the way, as we join this third round. Well, this is Dylan Armstrong, who is lying in second place. He's actually improved in the second round to 21.33 after a 21.32 opener. Now, can he get close to Cantwell here? Canadian, again in good form. Now, that doesn't look as good. He certainly started the competition well, and they've been almost salivating over this shot put event here. It is one of the highlights, certainly in the field, perhaps the highlight in the field today. And they've gathered pretty much the best around, and with the Americans going so well in particular at the moment, it's a really popular event. They've been popping over 21 metres so regularly, this current generation of shot putters. There's Armstrong, 21.16 in round 3. All his first 3 efforts well beyond that 21 metre barrier. Now, the Olympic champion Tomasz Majewski opens with 20.77, then a no throw. He's lying in 5th place at the moment, is the 28-year-old Pole. His lifetime best, 21 metres 22. Now that's modest by the sort of distances that Armstrong and Cantwell and others are used to. That from Majewski, well, I'm not sure it's an improvement. He's a massive man. World number 2 last year behind Cantwell. He has that glorious Olympic gold to his name, of course. 20.74, no improvement. Stays in 5th. I'm sure that Cantwell would swap everything he's won his last couple of seasons for that Olympic gold.
Well, back on the track, and it's back to middle distances. The 800 metre women, again, another mouth-watering field here, and they've managed to pull together pretty much as good a field as they could get at this point in the season. And of course, head back to Europe after Eugene during this week. 2 more Diamond League, later this week. At this 800, you can see lining up there. There are 12 women actually. Lane 1 will have Kenya Sinclair and Phoebe Wright, and lane 2. So there are 1 or 2 lane changes actually laid on. Alicia Johnson, who won the American Championships. Nancy Langat, the Olympic 1500 metre champion. Maggie Vesey ran so well here last year. that Janet Jepkosgei will certainly start as the favourite, but Maria Savinova of Russia is the world's fastest this year. She's also in this field. Well, I said I was just trying to, there's been one or two late lane changes here. Karen Shinkins is out in lane 8, who has been given the job of pacemaker. They've asked for a fairly swift, something under 57 seconds. So Karen Shinkins, you can just see going through the camera in the white vest there, will have to really motor some, and that's been a request from Jepkosgei's camp. And we've also got in here Mariam Jamal, 1500 meter specialist, gold double world champion. Might be a little bit quick for her. In fact, the first 200 looks a little bit quick for everybody. Well, around about 27 seconds there for Shinkins, but she was told she had to get out hard here, but she's just gone off away from the field a little bit too quickly, and that's not really helping anybody. And for the likes of Jepkosgei, Savinova, a little bit of good pacemaking might have just helped them get a really quick time here today. With Jepkosgei giving chase.
I'm interested to see how Jamal goes here, Steve. She's very much a 1500 metre runner rather than 800 metre runner, but this is a great opportunity for her to show what she can do over the 2 laps. The time there at 400 metres, well, the clocks didn't stop. I got it at high 57s.
Alicia Johnson in the purple there is lying threateningly, if you like, behind Jepkosgei. Savinova there as well. Then Langat in the red behind her. Well, they're just having to really push down the back straight now. Jepkosgei's going to come under some pressure here from Savinova. Sinclair, you can see, start to move as Langat looks for a gap on the inside of Johnson and finds it. They really have slowed after that really fast opening 300-400 metres, and Jepkosgei trying to hold on, trying to run this from the front. Langat looking again for some room on the inside. Savinova looks threatening, the Russian who leads the world this year, into the home straight. Johnson trying to find a little bit extra. They're on the feet here, the American crowd. It could be a Russian victory. Now this is going to be a surprise. Savinova pulling away from Jepkosgei. The Russian's going to get this. Just watch the clock. It will be the quickest in the world this year. Savinova, very, very strong indeed over the last 200 metres.
If that is confirmed, that by 1/100th of a second,
will be, you might be able to hear the announcer, I'm just checking myself, will be a new meeting record as well by 100th of a second. We'll have to wait for confirmation of that. But I think a messy race from Jepkosgei, Tim, in the sense that she was in the right place, but if you're going to put yourself in that place, you have to be able to hang on at the front there, and she was never really looking as though she had the strength to hold off Savinova.
Well, she's one of those athletes who does like to go hard from a long way out, but I think you're right, Steve. You've always got to save a little bit for the home straight, as you said. I don't think Savinova really put on an impressive surge down the home straight. Just maintained her pace a little bit better than did Jepkosgei. And she beats the World Championship silver medalist, the former world champion. That's good running. And the place times will be impressive too when they come through, because they were quite a few women breathing close to their tails.
Well, she won the World Indoor Championships, of course, ahead of Britain's Jenny Meadows. She hasn't really raced too much outdoors yet in that performance last week. She ran 1:58.1, came in very, very hot conditions in Russia. She won by well over a second on that day. It was much tighter here today. And you have to say that Savinova, after this performance, certainly can call herself the world's #1 in 2010.
So far, of course, those European Championships coming up, it does augur well for the Russian, with Barcelona, what, less than a month away now. Indeed, what, some three and a half weeks away, in fact.
A good performance there from Nancy Langat. Tim's ages since I've seen her run an 800. She started a career as an 800 metre runner as a junior. Has of course had great success at 1500 more recently. And that's a pretty startling performance. Big personal best, 1:57.75. That's 1.5 seconds off her best.
Well, Alicia Johnson in 5th place, 1:58.84, setting a new personal best. There's a great strength and depth there, as expected. The first 5 athletes under 1:59. You don't see that too often. 3 names running 1:57 through Savinova, Langat and Jepkosgei. Next event on the track will be the men's 110 metre hurdles, and we hope that a youthful following wind, but just below 2 metres per second, will assist David Oliver and the rest of that field. Oliver talking big about an attack on the world record. He's called it recently Mission 12.85. He wants the world record. Robles is World record 12.87.
There's a few missions around at the minute, isn't there? Think of a different word. Plan. I've got
Project.
a plan.
I like a project.
Project? There's always been 1 or 2 projects as well, yeah. Actually, just looking down that list, we'll come back to that in a second. Here's Rhys Hoffer in the shot.
Is indeed Hoffer, the world champion from 2007. And just to update you, Hoffer there taking his 4th round effort. He's opening the 4th round. Can tell you that with 8 athletes in most of these field events, the system being employed is a little unusual. After 3 rounds, the bottom 2 athletes play no further part. Only 6 go on. The order's reversed, of course, for the 4th and 5th rounds for those 6. And then for the 6th round, only 3 athletes take a final round throw. Hoffer there with 20.75 in the 3rd round, putting himself in 6th place. Majewski's 20.77, putting him in 5th. Here he goes for round 4, Majewski. It's fairly tight. If he could find another 15 centimetres or so, he'd move up a couple of places. Cantwell and Armstrong, well, both of them way out beyond 21 metres, have quite a gap on the pack at the moment.
Just remarking earlier on, Tim, about where the shot put is. It's right out there in the middle of the field, and it's a little bit of an unusual layout. There's 2 permanent shot circles that are out there with dirt landing areas. And the crowd really can get into these events. I said why it's so popular here is we see Adam Nelson, who's already thrown a season's best, coming in, currently lying.
Well, he's in 5th. He's just been leapfrogged by Majewski's 20.90 in that 4th round. Yeah, I love Nelson. Gets so fired up. I'm not sure that's any improvement. He's only had the 1 valid effort. That came in the 2nd round for the double Olympic silver medalist. 20.84 in round 2. Actually equals his season's best from the American trials. Wow, 21.16. Big improvement on his year best. And puts him up in 3rd place.
This is Ryan Whiting, who won the NCAAs in this very arena. And that one, he's just seen himself drop down the rankings then. Certainly not a very good response from Whiting at all. So he steps over. There's a no throw, just overbalancing there. So Adam Nelson throwing himself right in amongst it there. Into 3rd place, as Tim was saying. Whiting now down in 4th. Dylan Armstrong next to throw. That's a very good series so far from the Canadian. 4th at the Olympics. Canadian national record holder, and again just not quite finding the response after a very good start to the competition. Just maybe starting to fatigue a little. He's just a little off balance, wasn't he? Well, Cantwell did come into this as a favourite, and I think we've seen a good response from Nelson. As I said, I haven't seen that so much from him so far this year. And Armstrong just starting to tail away a little, his challenge. 20.98 in the 4th round. So our leader, 21.78 in the very 1st round, almost equalled that in the 3rd, 21.70.
Tomas is on hold.
World champion, #1 undoubted in the world last year, and indeed looking in great form in 2010. Can he get close to that 22-metre mark? Well, not on that occasion. It looks not too bad at all, but he's still trying to find that little bit extra. But as far as the competition's concerned, really consolidating himself in the lead. 21.58 just coming up. So Cantwell stays in the lead as we complete 4 rounds.
Well, the wind is still blowing fairly strong as we see the standings after 4 rounds in that men's shot put competition. Cantwell Armstrong and Nelson now all well beyond 21 metres, with Majewski, the Olympic champion, down in 5th. Back to the track though, and it's the men's 110-metre hurdles. Athletes are just about to come under starters' orders.
Just before they do, just bring up to date that superb 800 metres. Look at those times. A world lead for Savina, 1:57.56 under meeting record by 100th. Langa, big personal best, 57.75. Jeb Kotsky, not so good from her. Phoebe Wright, almost 2 seconds the American off her personal best in 4th place there. But good times all the way down to 10th. 9 women under 2 minutes. And the continuing poor form of Pamela Gelimo there, 2:3.14. She won the Olympics, you know.
Well, nobody in this field that won the Olympics, this men's 110-metre hurdles, but David Oliver, well, he came close, took the bronze medal. There's the allocation of points in the 800 metres for the Diamond League standings. Jeb Kotsky leading with 7. So very quickly over to this 110-metre hurdles. Jason Richardson goes in lane 1 for the USA, 8th in the US Championships last week. Artur Noga of Poland, very highly talented man, 2nd in the European Team Championships a couple of weeks ago, goes in lane 2. David Payne, 4th in those US Championships last week. The Olympic silver medalist goes in lane 3. Then Ryan Brathwaite, the world champion from last year from Barbados, still only 22, he goes in lane 4. David Oliver, the world number 1, the American champion from last week, goes in lane 5, looking for another quick time, his sub-13 maybe. Lane 6, Ryan Wilson, Ash in 7th, Hicks in lane 8, they get away first time, very quick start that one. And third going well certainly is David Oliver, 4th from left, Oliver leading the most, going well in 3 is David Payne, but Oliver leading, so chasing hard is Ryan Wilson on the near side. Oliver's going to win this one by 2 or 3 metres, 12.90! Oh, what a run, and look at the win, plus 1.6, it was just what he wanted, and he does indeed take another little notch off his personal best. 12.93 was his personal best from last week in the US Championships. Here today, 12.90. My word, that makes him one of the quickest men in history. Indeed, only Damon Robles and Lu Zhang have gone quicker. It makes him equal 3rd fastest in the world with Dominic Arnold, who in Lausanne back in 2006 ran that same time, 12.90. It's yet to be confirmed, but this big former American footballer, he's a huge man, coached by Brooks Johnson, who's been working very, very hard to improve his start, and what a start he got, has produced the goods here today, Steve. A wonderful performance.
Well, he was helped, I think, by Ryan Wilson alongside him. It was himself a very, very good start, but the two of them burst out of the blocks. But look at this from then on, and this takes him into a whole new territory. He's been talking, but he's been doing the walk as well. David Oliver, he's hit 2 or 3. I was watching him on the way down there, that one as well, but it's just not affecting his momentum at all. And surely that world record he talked about, be it a mission, be it a project, is not too far away. I sat next to him on the bus on the way down, Tim. I'm claiming that one. He was very relaxed, I have to say, and just minding his own business, very focused. And I like David Oliver. I think he's a great athlete. I think he's somebody who does himself proud as well. He knows how to handle the media, etc. He's not cocky, and when he has something to say, it's usually because he knows he's going to produce the results. And goodness me, has he done that here today. That wind was great for him, plus 1.6, just well within the limit. Now he'll be hoping they go away and have a look at that photo finish, won't he? Because that American record, Dominic Arnold, 12.90 as well. He'll be hoping maybe it gets rounded down to 12.89.
Well, from one great performance to some great performances unfolding in this shot put competition. Cantwell still leading with that opener of 21.78. Dylan Armstrong 21.33 in 2nd place. Adam Nelson 21.16 in 3rd. That came in round 4. We're just about to see Cantwell step into the circle. He's another man mountain for his 5th, his penultimate throw. Look at that series. Work out the average. It's well over 21.5 metres, about 21.60. The average of his first 4 throws. Crowd loving this one. Oh, that's big as well. Listen to the reaction of this Eugene crowd. No surprise. It took him a long time to find that winning groove, Christian Cantwell. I'm sure he'd swap, as I said, so many victories over this last couple of years for the Olympic gold. 21.89, he goes further still, extends his lead, does Cantwell. He leads now by some 66 centimetres from Dylan Armstrong. That's over 2 feet.
They didn't care.
I just caught a glimpse of a hurdle race from earlier on. Of course, Lucinda Demas won the 400 hurdles, but what a men's 110 hurdles we've just had. As we just checked with the current standings, 1 round to go in the shot put. Cantwell extending his lead there, 21.89. So we enter the final round, which Reese Hoffer will be setting underway. You can just see how much those flags are breezing. The flag in the hand of the breezing, how much the wind is breezing. The flag is blowing. It's certainly picking up, but it's gusting rather than anything else. And I think it's just about hanging within, for the track events down that home straight for the sprints, hanging within the legal limit, just in the face of Reese Hoffer and the rest of the shot putters, but of course doesn't affect them. Women's 100 next on the track, and they'll be hoping that it just settles. Great performances we've seen already, great competitions, and we're not quite halfway through this afternoon's session. And Cantwell leading this shot put. So Reese Hoffer then, looking to improve on his third round, 20.75.
No, that's way down, isn't it? Certainly way down on what Cantwell produced. He had his golden year, didn't he, Reese Hoffer, when he just couldn't put a foot wrong. All the stories were coming out about him juggling with machetes and his acrobatics when he'd won competitions, but today it's not happening. 20.59, his best remains round 3.
He was second in the American Championships last week. It might have given him a bit of hope for this week, but not to be the case, as we see Machevsky coming into the circle. World silver medalist back down in 5th today. Not looking as though he's going to improve his situation either. 20.90 was his best in the 4th. So I think 5th is as good as it's going to get. Well, almost 20.86. And he was looking for more than that, wasn't he? Not pleased at all.
Ryan Whiting then in 4th place at the moment. Whiting 20.93, coming in the very first round for Whiting. He's one of the youngest men indeed. Just checking through the card, he's the youngest man in this competition by a couple of years, is the American. 21.97, his season's best. That was on the 12th of June here in Eugene, actually. He is world number 3 this year, but 20.54 is no improvement. 20.93 from round 1 remains his best, and he will finish in 4th place. Now, Adam Nelson is in 3rd place. Here's Nelson, very compact, explosive little character compared with some of these other giants. The 3-time Olympian, twice Olympic silver medalist, and the world champion back in 2005. Needs to find, what, another 17 centimetres to overtake Dylan Armstrong. He's thrown 21.16. That came in round 4. The Canadian Armstrong holds second with 21.33. On count back though, Armstrong has the better second and best throws. In fact, Armstrong's first 3 efforts over 21 metres. 20.71, no improvement. Nelson though makes the rostrum, gets the Diamond League points. He finishes in 3rd. And he has produced today, Elder Nelson, very significant season's best, a step forward to 21.16. Dylan Armstrong has thrown 21.33, looking for another 66 centimetres, and that's not it. No, it confirms Cantwell as the winner here in Eugene. It's not a bad effort, a great series from Armstrong, the Canadian. The Olympic 4th placer World number 9 last year, well on target to improve that standing quite substantially by the end of this 2010 season. 21.14, it's another throw, 4 of his efforts beyond 21 metres. He takes second place. This man confirmed as the winner here, unbeaten this year, Christian Cantwell. What a series. I don't think too often in history has any shot putter put all 6 efforts beyond the 21-metre line, and so far beyond 21 metres. His worst effort here today from his first 5 throws, 21 metres 50. That was in the second round. His best came in round 5 just a few minutes ago, 21.89. He has the competition won. Can he go further? Cantwell, his lifetime best, 22.35 this year by Cantwell. That's the far longest throw in the world this season. That was in St. Charles, Montana on the 19th of June. We know he's in wonderful form. Cantwell's lifetime best, 22.54, and he's almost gone as far today, 22.41. It's not a personal best, it's the longest throw in the world this year though, and he wins this contest here against virtually an Olympic final type field by over a metre, can you believe? What a contest from Cantwell. That's one of the great series of throws in history.
Well, you have to pause for breath here. I think that's at least the 4th world lead we've seen here in Eugene. Whatever conditions might be out there, they're certainly not holding back the athletes, as indeed they did in the 110 hurdles. Just look at that list there, Tim. Season's best and personal best.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. David Oliver confirms the winner, 12.90, then a world lead time for the American, 1-2-3-4 for the USA, Wilson Ash Payne, 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
Well, and so it continues off to the women's 100 metres. Blessing Okagbare, Sharon Simpson, Veronica Campbell-Brown, Shelly-Ann Fraser, Carmelita Jetta, LaShanti Moore, Chandra Stirrup and Tahisha Harrigan. A great field here. Olympic champion at 200, Olympic champion at 100. Carmelita Jetta, number 1 in the world last year. Veronica Campbell-Brown in lane 3, Shelly-Ann Fraser next to her, the Jamaican, then Carmelita Jetta in 5, wearing the purple there. Watch out for LaShanti Moore as well in 6. They got a good start. Veronica Campbell-Brown out well, but Shelly-Ann Fraser going well. Jetta got left a little bit between Shelly-Ann Fraser and Veronica Campbell-Brown. What are we doing? Tight on the line. Campbell-Brown to the winner's one. And she did it again. 10.78. It's another world lead. What a run by Campbell-Brown. She is in superb form. Remember the 200 in New York when she just hit Alison Felix in a brilliant performance there, and she has got better here.
It is a Prefontaine classic record, and it equals the Hayward Field record as well.
For Veronica Campbell-Brown, she's in superb form. That's the 29th time in her career she's run under 11 seconds, and it was the best.
It's up to you, Lewis, wherever you want to go.
What a run from Campbell-Brown in lane 3. Didn't get away the best. Had to chase down Shelly-Ann Fraser there in central picture in black, but she did come through as a 200-metre run you'd expect in the second half. Just got there, very slight margin. Didn't really need to bother to dip, just maintained her form very, very well indeed, did Veronica Campbell. There was a lot of battling and argument over lane draw yesterday at the manager's technical meeting. She had to fight for that lane 3, did Veronica Campbell. Originally she was going to be in lane 6 or 7, I think it was, and she did indeed benefit by between Simpson and Fraser, the 2 Jamaican teammates, to get that lane 3 spot, be in the thick of it. And Steve, what a run. 10.78 confirmed, and the place time is behind her. The first 4 athletes below 11 seconds.
Well, that will put her 11th on the all-time list. Veronica Campbell-Brown, one of the quickest races we've seen in recent years, but another world lead and a personal best. 4 points for her. And as far as the diamond race and the 100 metres, Jetta still leading with 5. That's the first time we've seen Campbell-Brown over 100. And Lashanti Moore also with 4 with Shelley-Ann Fraser. So that one will go right through the season, undoubtedly. Well, Campbell Brown has really set this alight. What 2 great sprint races we've seen. The 110 hurdles for men with David Oliver, one of the quickest of all time, and then Campbell Brown following it up. So they've talked about this being a fast track as we move to the men's long jump in a minute, and also Dwight Phillips enjoys it here because he did his personal best here last year of 8:74, and he's undoubtedly the favourite in the men's long jump today. This was not that long ago, the first round, 8:37, so not a bad start. Wind was just inside the limit, plus 1.9. He's been in superb form again this year, Dwight Phillips, undoubtedly the world's #1. Nobody really being able to challenge him. Although there's a good field here in the long jump, and Phillips led at the end of the first round. Second place was a young man from China, Li Jinzheng, with 8:12 there. The only 2 men so far over 8 meters. And we had 5 actually who had no jumps in the first round. 1 or 2 of them really struggling to. You see Sebastian Bayer there. First time actually we've seen him this summer, the man who set the world alight almost indoors in 2009, had injuries really in the rest of the season, had a couple of good competitions outdoors, but first time we've seen him in 2010. And Saladino, of course, one of the greats of world long jumping. He himself also had a foul in the first round. So men's long jump yet to get going after all of that excitement in the 100 metres. There's still a buzz around in the crowd here. They really enjoyed that.
Well, Steve, I think it's one of those seasons where the Americans haven't got a major championships to target, and the performances just come, and they're a little bit more relaxed maybe because of that. Psychologically, the pressure of trying to focus on a major championship does shape your season. Their season, you could argue, without shape, gives them a slight advantage. Fitness and the performances just come when they want them to come.
Well, the Olympic champion just waiting patiently for his chance here. Second in row. Starting to come into some sort of good form. Always looks nice, and that's a good jump there from Saladino. Gets the white flag as well. And that's better. I was just about to say there that he's really starting to round into some sort of form. He hasn't had too many competitions yet this year. Competed at the World Indoors, only 6th there. Just modifying into the board there, and just waiting for the result to come. No jump in the first round. So slight, isn't he, compared to some of the more powerful jumpers, but all grace and technique. Well, I can tell you, that's 8 meters and 46 for Saladino. That puts him into a lead. What a performance from him. So Saladino with a new world lead, yet another one as we move across to the men's 5,000 meters.
Well, there's the lineup, and what a field there is gathered for this 5,000. 18 athletes in the men's 5,000 metres, a couple of pacemakers out there as well. Chris Zielinski, of course, the new superstar of American long-distance running with that sub-27-minute 10,000. Just on May the 1st, Zielinski ran 12:56 for 5,000 in Oslo a month ago, and that was the race of the season so far in the Bislett Stadium. 10 men breaking 13 minutes, the most ever in a 5,000 metres, and there's expectation of a similar sort of calibre of race here today. They're looking for 7:40 pace, that 3,000 metres in 7:40 en route to the full distance here today. That equates to around 61.5 per lap. And the belief is that the pacemakers might only be able to hold that for about 6.5 laps, such as the speed you'll have to be moving at to keep that tempo going. Ben True of the USA and Aaron Roanoke are the pacemakers. That's True out in front at the moment. But this is a really packed field. Apart from Tadako Pakele, who's run 12:53 for that second place in Oslo, we've got Imani Merga, who was the winner in Oslo, the Ethiopian 21-year-old. He ran 12:53.81 to win in Norway. Look out too for the likes of Sami Mutahi, a 13:02 man this year. Leonard Komon, 12:59. He was 10th in Oslo in 12:59, incidentally, Komon. Matthew Pistorio, 12:57 this season. It's the Kenyans in Ethiopia very much dominating, but great to see the likes of Solinsky mixing it with the best Africans this year. And if he does so here today through the latter stages, there'll be enormous support for him. Also look out for Mac Tegenkamp. He's another sub-13 American, 13-minute American. He's towards the back of the field, the tall figure. Tegenkamp had a chat with him at breakfast. He said he's got a bit of strapping on his Achilles at the moment, but it's not really been troubling him. This is first 5,000 of the year.
Well, back to Dwight Phillips after seeing his lead and indeed the world-leading jump disappeared to Saladino. 8:46 in the second round. What is the response from Dwight Phillips? The crowd really trying to get behind him. He's right in front of them here in the home straight. Oh, is that a red flag coming up? They're having a very close. Now it's a white flag. I'm not sure it's much of an improvement. He's just having a little wry smile there. I think he thought he might get the red one there. Well, he has been, as I said, totally dominant, but what a response from Saladino. Really starting to rediscover the form that made him world champion, Olympic champion. There's Phillips himself, former Olympic champion. Last year when they were jumping, they were asking, you were talking about the technical meeting, Tim, about which way they were going to jump, and they actually were jumping into a slight wind last year. He jumped 8.74. 8.41. It is an improvement for Dwight Phillips. Just come up, just to update you there. On the subject of the technical meeting, Tim, you know when we were talking about pacemaking, they asked for 740, and I sometimes wonder whether, you know, sometimes the agents and the managers are in the technical meeting and are asking for things that I'm not always convinced the athletes themselves are wanting. I think sometimes the athletes should sit in the meetings themselves and say, hey, hold on a minute, because 740 was I thought was ambitious, and there was a couple of 63-second laps in there, and all of a sudden that disappears out the window and the pace goes up and down a little.
Well, they've accelerated after the first kilometre, which was 2:35.8, and they went through 3 laps, 1200 in about 3:06. So True here just accelerating a little bit there when he realised his first kilometre was a bit too slow. It is Hirono in second place behind him. I haven't mentioned Eliud Kipchoge, and I should have done, because he's the world number one. He's the winner in Doha, the first Diamond League meeting of the season. His lifetime best is 12:46. That does make him the quickest man in the field. And he's a man with enormous experience, a great racing brain, the Olympic bronze medalist in 2004 in Athens, the Olympic silver medalist 2 years ago in Beijing, a former world champion. We saw a quick look there at Dwight Phillips, but 4 laps there in about 4:08 for the pack. So they've gone through the mile in about 4:09. They're lapping in pretty much 62 seconds, but they do need to keep cracking on. 62 seconds per lap is 7:45 pace, and I think, Steve, that's probably a more realistic time. I think there's some truth in what you're saying, that the agents would love these athletes to be pushing on and pushing down towards sub-1250 territory, but actually maybe they're not in the mood for it yet today. The wind is still very strong here. Just look at the flag over to our right that the athletes are running towards. Come through in front of us now with 8 laps to go. Still just about everybody in contact would suggest that the pace is actually quite sensible.
Well, you probably just caught a glimpse there of David Oliver's just coming to the end of what's been a very, very long lap of honour, and crowd on their feet now settling down to enjoy this 5,000 metres. And as Tim was saying, the pace a little more sensible now, and I think, you know, the pacemaker, his first 2 laps were too slow, then he took off, he opened up the 15-metre lead and then dropped out. I mean, you know, you kind of begs the question, what's the point in that?
Well, 5:10.07, 2:34 that second kilometre. They did pick it up a little bit once they realised it was slower than it needed to be, but it is still a very solid 62 seconds per lap. Nothing wrong with that. They'll still run well below 13 minutes if they can maintain something close to this tempo. Interestingly, Kipchoge, who I think was over-raced when he ran in Oslo, he was very, very tired indeed, and that was a mistake to some extent. He ran, having run 12:51 in Doha, he went and ran in Oslo and finished in 14th place, way, way down what you'd expect from a man of his calibre, but he looks here very much up for it, does Kipchoge. He's a vast talent. He won the world title when he was just 19 years old in 2003. His spread runs from 1,500 metres up to 10,000. He's run 3:33 for 1,500, 26:49 for 10,000, making him one of the quickest men. There he is in second place in the red vest, behind Rono the pacemakers. In the green there in the red shorts in 4th place, that is Tadeko Bekele.
a little further back, Tim, and just keeping an eye on the Americans. Chris Zielinski is wearing, you'll see him with the long white socks there, just on the inside. And the Americans, certainly the crowd here in Eugene, so excited to have the likes of Zielinski mixing it with the Africans. And I thought he ran a very canny race in Oslo. He ended up running 12:56, superb follow-up through great 10,000 metres on American soil, of course, to go into Europe and really mix it. Okay, he was never quite going to win that race, but I thought he ran it very smartly, and he managed to come up with a decent last lap as well. Got him under 13 minutes, and he was never too far away. Just sat in the pack, much as he's doing here today, and he's sitting there watching 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th place, and looks comfortable there, looks good there, and he's obviously heading for just a superb season as it continues for him. And as they then start to build the World Championships next year, Olympic Games, Americans, of course, have had so much success with their endurance program, men and women, winning medals at the major championships, racing the Africans, showing that it can be done, and setting out, well, some sort of target for the rest of the world to take on as well. Not to be fearful, not to be frightened. If you train hard enough and you're in the sort of shape these guys have been in, then there's no reason why you can't run as fast. The problem always comes, Tim, at the end of the race, the big burner.
Kipchoge leading, that's Daba in second place incidentally, the 21-year-old Ethiopian who's run 12:58 this year. In third place it is Bekele. Then in fourth is the winner in Oslo, Imane Mergen, that black strip. But look at this pack of about 10 or 11 men that's getting away. And it's a huge pack considering the pace they're moving at, and it's credit to the pacemakers that they did set out at 2:35, 2:36 for the first kilometre, 2:34, 2:35 for the second kilometre. That really set it up nicely for these men. A couple of gaps just beginning to appear now as Daba takes over the lead from Kipchoge, who perhaps was beginning to falter a little bit, a reluctant leader. They've gone through 3,000, 749.13, so they have slowed a fair old bit in that second kilometre. Indeed, it was a 2:39 as opposed to, what, 2:35 average for each of the first 2 kilometres. Daba here pushing on. He's got a short pitter-patter little stride, hasn't he? It's not that familiar a face to me, I have to say, but it's Daba leading, and he has injected a bit of pace because we're down a single file. Kipchoge, Bekele, Merga, and Kisorio in the red strip in 5th place. They come down in front of us with 4 laps to run. Zielinski is still in there. He's in 8th place at the moment and just moving up through. He's covering everything that's happening in front of him. Tegenkamp's having a pretty good run. He's in that second group that's separated about 5 or 10 metres from that leading octet.
Well, that 5,000 metres continues. Zielinski, as Tim was saying, looking pretty good down that back straight as things start to pick up there. But in this long jump, Saladino with the lead. Superb performance in the second round, 8:46. Challenged by Phillips, went out 8:41. Whoa, that's close again. Red flag this time though for Saladino. So we'll have to wait to see. Of course, they're not reversed. They're still going in the order that they started out at. The order will be reversed after 3 rounds, as Tim was explaining earlier on. So Phillips yet to take his 3rd round jump, but Saladino still in the lead at the minute.
Seven men have got away then. There's been a bit of a breakaway, and it's still Daba who leading. A man who went out of the heats of the World Championships in 2007 and last year in Berlin. He won the Carlsbad 5,000 last year though here in California, so people do know him this side of the pond. But Zielinski is at the back of that group as ever. It's Zielinski against the Africans, and they really are racking it up now. They're coming up towards 4 kilometres. Remember, 7:49 at 3k. That 3rd kilometre was the slowest of the race so far. There it is, 10:28, another 2:39. It's a shame that it's slowed a little bit in these last couple of kilometres, Steve, but Daba doing all the work. And you can see Kipchoge, they're quite happy to sit on his shoulder, beginning to look a little bit more comfortable than he was 3 or 4 laps ago. He's building up for a perfect finale, this one. Bekele, Taruke Bekele, the younger brother of Kenenisa Bekele, the world record holder at this distance, who incidentally is out for the season. He has a calf injury which they've decided to knock his season on the head. 2 laps to go. Bekele now moves up to 2nd place as Kipchoge hits the front for the first time in 4 or 5 laps. Zielinski is still at the back of the field. When he ran his 26:59 10,000 metres on May the 1st. Zielinski finished with the last 800 metres in 1:56, but a gap is beginning to grow between the American there in green and that leading 6. As they go down the back straight, it's just over a lap and a half to run. But Steve, this is going to be pretty quick, but it's going to be a wonderful burn-up over this last 400 or so.
And that's why Kipchoge is just putting his foot down a little bit. Zielinski has felt it. The others haven't really felt it, though. It's not a sort of group-breaking burst from Kipchoge, but he is fearful of the kick of one or two of the others. He himself, of course, has sprinted away to win big races, but I always think he's always a little bit vulnerable in the sprint, Kipchoge, and he knows that every yard is going to count on that last lap. He wants to be at the front, he wants to initiate things, but they're all gathering on his shoulder, and Bekele looks threatening as well. Kipchoge loses the lead.
Kipchoge unusually losing the lead there and letting a Bekele hit the front. Dabber in blue on his shoulder. Don't think we're going to see sub-13 here because they went through a long way outside 12 there. Zielinski's now dropping back. He's in 7th place as these 5 go into the back straight. It's Bekele with Dabber in 2nd place on his shoulder. Kipchoge is a wonderful racer. He's got a great turn of speed. He's on the inside there. Look out for Murga too in the black strip. He hasn't shown at all, but these 4 just beginning to ease away. Gebremeskel is in 2nd place in the blue. Dabo's dropped back into 5th place. But Tadeko Bekele now unleashes that kick of his. What's he got left? Kipchoge maybe wanting the speed. He's back and forth at the moment. It's Bekele leaning off the bend. Bekele from Gebremeskel. It's 1 and 2 for Ethiopia. And it's Murga in 3rd. It's going to be a 1, 2, 3. But it is going to be younger brother of the world record holder, Tadeko Bekele, takes it here in Eugene. 12:58. The 13-minute barrier gone. It's the first time in history 13 minutes has been broken on the North American continent. Wonderful running there. Those 3 men crashed across the line. Surely all 3 of them under 13 minutes. What a run. And when one Bekele's not around to do it with an injury, the younger one is. That's one of the biggest wins of Tadeko Bekele's career. He's a former world junior champion. Young man who has won the world indoor 3,000 metres title back in 2008, and it's a long way outside his personal best of 12:52. But it's the win here today that counts against a stellar field. Gebremeskel working so hard to get back to him. He's only 20. It's now an event of the young men, this, Steve, but it's very much an event, as always, of the Africans.
Well, you don't know where to look next, do you? It's just remarkable. The crowd here being treated to a superb track and field meet. Under 13 minutes here in Eugene. The man who finished 2nd has never been under 30 minutes before. He just made it as well. Great race though from Bekele. Always in the right place. Looked as though he might come under a threat in that last 200. He wound it up and wound it up. He doesn't have the real acceleration, but once he's moving, very strong on the last lap. And Gebremeskel did his best. However, he couldn't hang on to him. I thought Kipchoge just faded a little. As I said, he himself knows he doesn't have the power that he used to have in the latter stages. Good performance nonetheless, and the crowd of course were cheering for Zielinski all the way home, but good performance from him. But I'm sure at the back of his mind he might have enjoyed it, or been looking forward to a better pace through that. Thankfully though, the crowd rewarded with that sub-13 clocking.
Yes, the first 2 athletes, Bekele winning there with a meeting record 12:58.93, and Gebremeskel under 13 minutes as well, a new personal best, as Steve said. Murga, the winner in Oslo, and that fabulous racer a month or so back, just outside 13 minutes. Well, the women's javelin throw competition here today, with the wind being somewhat variable and perhaps therefore playing a significant part in this one. Spotakova certainly didn't enjoy the conditions particularly, but Cara Patterson, what a day she had, 65 metres 90. New meeting record for the American. That came in the 6th round, and Patterson, well, she's the newly crowned American record holder at 66.67 from last week. Almost up to that mark here today. That national record in the US Championships. Confirming her form here though with 65.90. Racha's 64.40, and Spotakova, the world record holder, down in 3rd place here today with 61 metres 12.
So we move into the 4th round. Positions are reversed, so Brian Johnson, who ended up in 6th place after the first 3, 2 athletes drop out. Barada and Sebastian Bayer certainly still very much out of sorts. And he was hoping to go to the European Championships to do well, as we see Brian Johnson getting a red flag there. He won't improve his situation, only 7.82 so far for him. Well, the long jumpers certainly getting the better of the conditions with that fairly stiff breeze behind them. Well over there from Johnson. Saladino still leading. Phillips pretty much ran through on the third round. And a big improvement from the young Chinese jumper Li Jinjie in the 30s, 8.29. So that's your top three at the minute. Saladino 8.46, Phillips 8.41, and Li Jinjie 8.29. It's a big personal best for the young man from China. He's only 20 years of age, and somebody maybe to watch out for. Seen him in the hotel, very tall. Travell Quinley next to go. That's one legal jump so far, 7.85, and that came after two no jumps first two rounds, so he's probably happy that he's just in this fourth round at the moment. Can he then build on that? The second in the American Championships last week. I think it was 20, that was into a headwind. It could be better. Gets the white flag. Now he's waiting to see. He's going to get well over 18 metres to move up, because Lapierre, who's ahead of him, was 8.17. 9 on the board. Untidy finish, but looks as though he was, what, somewhere around 8.20-ish. He's going to be happy with that, Quinley. Well, 8.18, that moves him up by 1 centimetre into fourth place. That's a good improvement from Quinley. Just 2 centimetres off his season's best set last week, as I said. His personal best came here at the Olympic trials 2 years ago, and Eugene likes it here. Chatting to one or two of the athletes yesterday, they said this is a good place for long jumping. Lots of good performances have been made here. So what about Fabrice Lapierre, the Australian, the world indoor champion? Had a huge jump in Australia, 8.78 on that occasion, a 3.1 following win. Took full advantage of it. That still gives jumpers confidence. You kind of tend to ignore the wind reading and kind of go, well, yeah, that's worth X, Y, and Z. Performed well in Shanghai, 8.30 there. He's in a good competition here, so 5th place at the minute with 8.17, but he needs to find something around that 8.30 to get himself in the top 3 here. I was expecting a red flag, but it went. Looked well over the board. I think he knew, really. Over there. Well, Tim, we've had a well lead in this long jump, but all over the place. Just superb performances today. I'm not sure everyone was expecting that here in Eugene, and whether some were saying it was a little bit cool, as it was another great 5,000 metre race. Not a world lead, but under 13 minutes, Tim.
12.58 the winning time for Tadako Bekele. Gebre Meskel broaching new ground, his first time under 13 minutes in second place, and Merga making it a 1-2-3 for the Ethiopians. Collis Birmingham, new personal best at 13.10 for the young Australian in 9th place. Great run for him. Well, this long jump continues. The next event on the track, the men's 200 metres. Li Jinzhi.
This is the guy I was talking about, Tim. He's very tall, like the long jumpers are, of course, but improving. He's very young, and as you can see, enjoying the atmosphere as well. He's pretty confident. And a big new personal best already today, 8.29. That was actually with a benefit of a following wind of 3.5 metres, so that won't count as far as legal reasons. It does count, of course, in the competition, so you'll be hoping the wind is kind to him here. To little bit more untidy and a red flag for him as well. So, as I said, thanks to the crowd, they really are giving support.
I don't think I've ever seen quite such vocal and noisy support from a crowd. Almost to a man, they're supporting every single jump. It's unbelievable, the atmosphere.
Well, I said right at the very beginning, I don't think you'll get a more knowledgeable crowd. Some of the big European meets, of course, people have been going for many, many years and know the athletics very well. But certainly in the USA, you would not find anywhere else where track and field is understood as much as it is. And they're certainly very appreciative of the top-class athletes they're seeing here, the world's best, and they are producing some world-leading performances. Let's see what we get in the men's 200 metres. There's a start list for you. Saidi Ndure on the inside, Ryan Bailey's in 2, Martinez in 3, Walter Dix in lane 4. The return of Tyson Gay, the big news here, in lane 5. Richard Thompson of Trinidad in 6, Ryan Bailey in 7, Xavier Carter
in lane 1,
in
representing Norway, a two-time Olympian, Jaisuma Ndure. And here is
Big question mark, Steve, over Tyson Gay's form. He said he's been said to me yesterday he's about 85% fit, and he said that hamstring is still not right. I'm quite surprised he's running.
Yeah, he's been doing very little training out of blocks. Just here on Friday was only the second time in 6 weeks that he's actually come out of blocks. Of course, that's where so much pressure is placed on the hamstring. And he's got to run, he said, I'm going to run a good curve, a relaxed curve here, and then see what I can do in the home straight. So it's a bit of a surprising return. I think Tim's right, you might have expected to see him maybe run a slightly more low-key meet first, but he must know, think that he's ready, that the hamstring is going to stand up to this. He's talked about changes he's made in his regime, particularly nutritional. That might have been the root of some of the problems that he's been having, all of the injuries. Of course, the former world champion in this event.
Who in the world last year? Tyson Gay.
I asked him yesterday, Steve, if he felt he could close the gap with Usain Bolt. He said yes, he didn't think he got a very good start at the World Championships last year, so he's looking for tiny margins.
Athletes have to think positively. Let's not take that away from him. There's actually been a lane draw. I was reading it out that Ryan Bailey is in 2, Sean Crawford's in 7. That was different to what was initially agreed, so there's been a bit of a switch around there. So Ndure of Norway will be on the inside. It's only his second 200 this year. Then will be Ryan Bailey in 2. He's third in the Shanghai Diamond League. Sharandi Martina was disqualified, of course, in the Olympic final. It's his birthday today, incidentally. He's in 3. Then the 2, I think, main men, or 3 main men, I'm going to say. Walter Dix in 4. He's been having a really good season. Won the American 100 Championships, was beaten by Spearman in the 200. He's not here today. Then Tyson Gay in 5. Outside him, watch out for Richard Thompson, the Trinidadian, again in very good form. Recently, just a week or so ago, won the Trinidad double 100 and 200 in 10.01 and 20.37. And it's Sean Crawford and Xavier Carter. A test for Gay of his body and against the competition. Gets a pretty good start, but Dix perhaps got a better start on the inside than Richard Thompson going well. Gay's on a very good bend here. There's a 2-man battle between Dix and Gay. 19.72 yet again, a new mean record. It's not as quick as Bolt this year, but goodness me. Dix had to fight so hard for that, and what a return for Tyson Gay. He just needed perhaps a couple of races to help him get the victory there. Just a little bit rusty perhaps, but I don't think you can be too disappointed with this. It was a good start, maybe a little tentative out of the blocks, but Dix ran a good bend as well, and there was nothing to choose between them, Tim, when they got into the home straight, and it was all down to a little bit of guts, but I suspect as well the fact that Dix has had more races helped him in the last 10-15 metres.
Well, without any doubt. I mean, Dix is a very tight in his shoulders, very, very busy runner. He works so hard. Gay looked short of racing to me. Here, certainly you'd expect him to be moving away, and he wasn't. He was run down by somebody. That never happens to Tyson Gay. Certainly twice he's trained out of blocks in the last 8 weeks. He said to me yesterday, he's short of training, he's short of real sprint work. and it showed that 85% fit, beaten by a few inches by Dix. Take nothing away from Walter Dix, it's not even a personal best for the American. He's run 1969 as Dix, 1972 is confirmed there for that win, and he'll be pleased with that scalp. But for Gay, as long as the hamstring reacts well to that race, I think we'll see something pretty special over the next 6 weeks or so. That is yet another meeting record, Steve. We've had them in the men's shot, we've had one in the men's 110 hurdles, we had one in the women's 100.
You need a bit of pizza. I know you write them down. Get another piece of paper, Tim.
I do.
It's been a great meet, and still more to come. A new meeting record, 19.72, season's best there for Walter Dix. Tyson Gay, his first 200 metres of the year, good comeback, 19.76. Personal best for Ryan Bailey in third place, 20.17. There's the points for today's race. It means that Walter Dix now has a total of 8 in the 200 metres. Somebody called Usain Bolt, just the one performance from him so far, of course, in Shanghai, and rumours that Bolt will be back pretty soon. I'm not sure if the others will be too pleased about that. They've very much had it their own way. But a good performance, good comeback from Tyson Gay. He'll be running against Asafa Powell over 100 metres in the Diamond League, meeting in Gateshead in a week's time. And I'm sure he can now at least start to look forward to that. His hamstring comes out of this okay. He responds well on the next day or two.
Where am I going?
And then Tyson Gay just might well be heading for at least some sort of season in 2010. And it looked for a long time as though it might not happen.
Well, the wind here today has been absolutely perfect for the sprinters. Plus 1.8, the wind behind Dix and Gay there, and the rest of them produced that very special 200-metre set of performances. And it doesn't seem to have affected the distance races too much. Just one distance race left, and that'll be the Nike Bowerman Mile that closes the meeting, with the women's 400 metres next up as we go back to this long jump. And Fabrice Lapierre it is. Just one valid jump for the Australian from his 4 efforts so far. That was an 8.17 in the second round. He's better than that, is Lapierre, and he'll want to prove it here today in front of this wonderful crowd. Saladino still leads with that 8.46 from the second round. Phillips in second with 8.41 from round 2. And Lapierre down in 5th. Oh no, all over the place. And he's got just one effort left. In fact, no, I think that will close his series. He's got one effort left, in fact. But the wind may be playing havoc with his competition here. Not even close. Way beyond the board. And that's very, very frustrating indeed for the Australian. The world indoor champion. Look at that card.
It was interesting to see, we mentioned Sebastian Bayer, Tim, the man talking about indoor championships. Of course, when we were in Turin and he went out, and I remember seeing first of all in Birmingham, I think it was, the indoor meet there, this superb jump, and of course the European Championships beckoning. It was his first competition back, wasn't very good at all, it has to be said, so two people will be taking note of that, and they'll be taking note of the fact that Dwight Phillips isn't leading at the minute.
Well, and that's a bit of a surprise, because Phillips has been in great form, 3-time world champion. That's a good series he's put together too. 8.37, 8.41, 8.39, 8.34, but he's down in second place. No, had to cut his stride dramatically there. Last 2 or 3 strides. Is he holding his groin there? Yes. I think he might have injured himself just then. Cut the strides, look. Little skip almost prior to taking off, and as a result, top half of his body rolling forwards, pushes the feet down early, didn't get any leg shoot at all, and that's a subpar jump for Dwight Phillips.
Big contrast, isn't there, between Phillips and Saladino. You know, Phillips is powerful and he's obviously a great sprinter as well. He's a superb sprinter, in fact, of course, at 100 metres or close to 10 seconds. But Saladino almost slight by comparison, but it's just graceful with Saladino, isn't it? And all of that speed is translated into that forward momentum. And he's, if you stood the two of them together in a shopping mall, someone said, "What do you think these two guys are?" They go, "Well, he's the 5,000 metre runner, and the other guys are a long jumper, but
well, Saladino, as you say, Steve, when he first emerged on the world scene, what, 4 or 5 years ago, he had this wonderful gracefulness that seemed almost to defy gravity, seemed to hang in the air, and he's had his ups and downs the last couple of years, if you want to give it a pun. And here he goes again. Look at that, very relaxed in his approach. That's big as well. That's big as well. Oh, it's a red flag, what a shame. I don't think it was a big foul.
oh, he got out of that bit so excited, didn't he? That was a big jump.
And that wind is, if anything, strengthening. Just looking at the stars and stripes beside us.
Well, 2 more track events to come. The women's 400 metres, another highlight. We could have any more. Kisha Baker, Shapka of Russia. Then we've got Debbie Dunn, the new American champion and world leader. Then Alison Felix, big star of American athletics. Samantha Moncho is in 5. Noblin William Mills of Jamaica will be in 6. Sharika Williams of Jamaica in 7. And Natasha Hastings of the USA on the outside. Well, I was chatting to this young lady yesterday, and she is a big star of American athletics, and just said, look, you know, I know the expectation is that I'm going to take this 400 metres on and somehow, you know, move up and dominated this event, but I love the 200. I want to do both of them at the Worlds next year and at the Olympics in 2012. And she said, I will manage my season with both events. So Debbie Dunn's in 3, fastest in the world this year, 49.64, the new American champion, and Felix outside her in 4. Well, Felix, again, you use the word graceful about Saladino, but she herself is a wonderful athlete to watch, and you just feel as though there's so much potential at this 400 metres. And Debbie Dunn is keeping an eye on her. We've moved up on Moncho, who herself been in very good form. Moncho outside, Felix in lane 5. And they're pretty much all even through that first 200. If anything, Debbie Dunn making up some ground now, Alison Felix, who will have some work to do around that top bend. Also going well, Sharika Williams and Noblin Williams Mills inside her, lane 6, who's starting to come through. Moncho right there. So, 4 women abreast, even 5 women abreast. Debbie Dunn with a slight lead now. Felix is starting to favour. Here she comes. Alison Felix alongside Moncho. Felix has just about got a half a metre advantage. Can she hold it to the line? Moncho's very close. It's going to be tight if Felix just gets it. 50.28. And given everything that's gone before, that's almost a sense of anticlimax there. I think we were all expecting a little more from Felix. Had to work hard around that top bend because Dunn had done the work through the first 250. And then she just tried to hold and maintain as she came under pressure right up to the line and almost leaning back, lost it, but Moncho just not quite enough to get there. And then Sharika Williams as well in that final finish, but no doubt. So that's the winner. It's Alison Felix again.
Windy, yeah. Can't get away from this one.
Well, she looked very vulnerable there, didn't she, Alison Felix? She looked quite frail, really. I thought she set off almost too conservatively. She was certainly down on Moncho there with 200 metres to run, and around the top bend, if anything, Moncho of Botswana pulled away from her another metre or so. She gave herself quite a bit of work to do as she came into the straight. Then with about 70 or 80 to go, she began to work. She was alongside them. As you mentioned, Steve, there were 5 abreast with about 80 metres to go. And it certainly doesn't exude power, does Alison Felix. She's a very slight character. She just maintained her form well, didn't really battle it out and punch hard and grit her teeth. There's no real blood and guts with the way Alison Felix runs, and sometimes I think 400 metre running that is needed. But she beat the field there by the narrowest of margins in 50.27. She's still learning about the event, Steve, I suppose. You know, she's probably run not more than half a dozen really top-notch 400 metres in the last 3 years or so, and she's new to the discipline, which is all the more exciting. Well, one great performance after another.
Felix winning 50.27, a new season's best for the much improved Amantle Moncho. Sharika Williams just missing out there by 100 of a second, taking 3rd place. Debbie Dunn rather disappointing, particularly in the last 100 after her performance last week. So there's the points all tallied up. We've now got 2 women on 8 points, Felix and Moncho.
The first 6 women there were covered by 6/10 of a second. It was in fact 4/10 of a second, I think. It was very, very tight indeed, that race. So you don't see too many 400s that are quite as equally contested as that one.
Yeah, the season's best, apart from Debbie Dunn. You know, Debbie Dunn had gone under the 50 seconds. It kind of looked as though she could be the big threat today, so she would not be too happy with her performance, I don't think. You may have heard a great big cheer just a moment ago in the men's long jump. It was Fabrice Lapierre who loved to show he'd sailed out to something about 850, but it got a red flag. We've had two really big jumpers. Wind is helping the long jumpers. We saw Saladino with a huge effort, which also got a red flag in the fifth round. So Travell Quinley knows he's at least safe from threats from behind him, because Lapierre did not obviously improve. Just one legal jump from the Australian, 8.17. So Quinley, who's in fourth with 8.18. What can he do in this final round? Hurt himself there. He gets a white flag, but I'm not sure he's going to improve matters for himself. Actually won the Olympic trials Quinley back in 2008. Didn't translate that into anything, but the potential is there. It was a bit of an off year anyway, but must have settled for fourth place with 8.19, 1 centimetre improvement. So just 3 left to go. Li Zhengzhe from China, who's in third place.
Lee on the runway.
One more track event to come. The highlight of all meets here in Eugene, the mile, the Baumann Mile, named after the great coach here. We'll be seeing that very, very shortly. Li Zhengzhe tries to get the crowd interested in this long jump, and they have to hand it to him. They really supported the long jumpers here. And he's enjoyed himself. Watch out for this young man in the next 2-3 years. Red flag. Oh, that's a pity. It's been a good competition. He'll be pleased with third place. 8.29 won't be legal for any record purposes, personal best, etc. Plus 3.5. He must have been a gust there, because that was certainly one which, although Saladino's jump was also windy, but not as much as the man from China. But third place in the Diamond League, good performance. So just 2 left to go, Dwight Phillips and Saladino. Phillips is 8.41, and they put the world leading jumps up. Will be the one that's up there, because Saladino's windy 8.46. But he'll not want to get beat here, and he'll be hoping the wind, as I said, will be kind to him. Looks as though he might have hurt himself, a little twinge perhaps in that previous round, in the 5th round. A little grimace.
I was wondering, Steve, if he's going to call it a day. No? Well, seems determined to go through with it. But
that might frustration. What do you think? He was.
If there was a major championships coming up, he probably wouldn't take this jump. Maybe it's not so important. So Dwight Phillips, final chance to snatch the lead back from Saladino. It's only 5 centimetres that gap. And of course, Saladino's leading jump 8.46. He's only batted up. No, it is indeed a groin injury for Dwight Phillips. He shouldn't have even started that one.
You'd think that, you know, an athlete of his experience, you could see he was grimacing. He'd hurt himself up the first. Maybe just as he was running down there, maybe there's just a twinge and he thought, no, well, he's going to risk this. But I'm not sure that he didn't know that in the few strides he took about 30 seconds before that. But that's the end for him. End of this competition for Dwight Phillips. We'll have to settle for second place, although 8.41, just a centimetre off his previous season's best. But I suspect he'll be pretty frustrated with today. Not a bad little sort of series there, but he's got that much better.
Well, that's a frustrating end to the competition for Phillips. It does indeed, of course, confirm Saladino as the winner with just a 1 valid jump, and Saladino is passing his final effort. And while the camera concentrates on an injured Phillips, the milers are walking out onto the track down towards the line, and The crowd are cheering them as they're introduced to the stadium, to the arena. It's a big field, some 14 athletes in this Bowman Mile. There is the lineup. Amin Lalu is my dark horse for this one, the Moroccan who's in such great form for over 800 metres in the last couple of weeks. Daniel Kipchirchir-Komen holds the meeting record, 3:48. He ran back in 2007, but look at the quality of this field. Asbel Kiprop, the Olympic champion. Bernard Lagat, the world champion back in 2007. Yusuf Kamel, of course, is the world champion from last year. He goes in this one as well for Bahrain, formerly Gregory Conchella of Kenya. There is Asbel Kiprop, the 21-year-old, belatedly an Olympic champion. Bernard Lagat in great form. We know that American record over 5,000 metres in Oslo at the beginning of June, 12:54, shows he's got enormous strength stored up. He's only run 3:56 so far this year, but his best is 3:47. It does make him the quickest man in the field, incidentally. Kiprop, well, world #1 so far this season, or at least the quickest on paper with that big win in Oslo. 3:49.5 he ran there. That was a big performance. And Bernard Lagat, the former Kenyan, 34 years old now, the adopted son of the USA. Very, very popular character. He's a delightful lad too, is Bernard Lagat. Very, very easy to chat to. No airs and graces about this man. Kiprop, by the way, the Olympic champion, was 21 3 days ago. Can he give himself a late birthday present here? Still so young. But he won here in 3:48 last year. It's a big field. We'll go through it when they get underway. Andrew Wheating also in this field, the tall man there in yellow, is a big hope for the Americans, a collegiate who took the collegiate titles over 800 and 1500 metres recently. He's just looking to learn in this race and run as quick as he can. A lot of Americans in there, but Amin Lalu, the 28-year-old Moroccan, making his mile debut here, I believe, ran 3:31 last year over 1500 metres, and that was his 1500 metres debut. He's had a fascinating trip here, has Lalu. He slept in Portland Airport on a bench a couple of nights ago, having travelled from Rabat to Paris to Portland, and then a 2-hour bus journey the next morning when he woke up from Portland Airport. He had problems at the airport with getting into the country, but away they go. The pacemakers looking to run 1:53 for the first 800 metres. Renshaw it is, Gideon Lachlan Renshaw taking the pace on. And that's pretty good speed.
I think he's probably a little faster than one or two wanted. The discussions yesterday were around Lagat's camp in particular, wanting it to be a little slower. And Lagat was telling me he struggled to recover from that great 5,000 in Oslo when he got the American record. His calves were tight for a couple of weeks afterwards, but he said no more 5,000s this year. I'm concentrating on 1,500, 3,000. And he want to run well here, and he's got to, as you said, take on the likes of Kiprop and Lalu and Kamel. But he prefers it if it's not too fast early on, I think, and that's why you've seen, I think, many of the field just sit off this pace a little bit, probably a 55 knot, a little quick. Don't forget, it's a mile, it's not 400 metres if you like. It's when you get to, if you only take 800 and 1200 time, you've got another lap and a bit to go. But he looks comfortable, doesn't he, Kiprop? I always love watching him, and he's the only one who's really going with his pace. The others are just sitting back a little bit.
They went through in 55, but most of the pack were a good second or second and a half back on that, so I think it was okay. 1:53 at 800 metres. They go into the back straight now. The tall, languid stride of Kiprop there, the Olympic champion, all in black to the left of the picture, keeping him a little way clear of the rest of the field at the moment. Komen it is in third place, Daniel Kipchirchir-Komen. Lalu just beginning to move up. And Lagat has got a lot of work to do. He's a long way back from Komen. He's about 10 or 12 metres back. And they come round into the straight now with 500 metres to run. The pacemakers are gone. It's Kiprop who leads. And it's Komen in second place. Komen normally likes to lead. Gerda Mariam is in third place in the green. Lalu in fourth place. They hit the bell. Lagat, surprisingly, really struggling here. He's back in sixth at the moment. And I'm so wondering what's wrong with Lagat, because he's really not in this race at the moment. In fact, he's been passed by Wheating into the back straight. and it's still the Olympic champion Kiprop.
Yeah, Lagat's not going to figure here. There are two Americans already ahead of him. Look at Lamont and Wheating, as I said. But then the front here, this is developing into a good race. Coleman with a real comeback performance. Look at Lalu, though, in the red and the black, has really got onto these. They've hung around a little bit too much.
Kiprop leading inside the last 200 metres. Coleman right on his shoulders. Lalu has got some work to do at the moment, but he's perfectly poised here, and he ran 1:43.1 last week. The Moroccan in red coming round the outside, taking the long line. Kiprop's got the strength, but can he stay out there? Here comes Lalu. It's his mile debut, but Kiprop's got the legs, and he keeps the Moroccan at bay. The Olympic champion celebrates his win before the line once again. 3:49.75. What a debut for Lalu. He'll have run around 3:50 dead. And the 800-metre man, who I thought would have the speed off the final bend, with that limited experience in the metric mile, or indeed this full mile distance, shown how to do it by Kiprop. And it was an interesting race from Kiprop, because it was never lightning quick, but he was at or near the front throughout the whole race, and he really did control that one in masterful fashion. You have to say, Steve, for a young man who has now been given the Olympic champion at last after Rashid Ramzi's disqualification or being taken away for a drugs offence, he's beginning to show a wonderful racing, a natural racing brain.
Yeah, I really like watching him. I think he's a great athlete. I think he has a good race brain, as you said. He's got extendable legs, which help. And I think at this point, you know, Lalu thought, I've got you here, and just the last 30, 40 metres, a little bit of acceleration, which he shouldn't be able to do off that pace at that point. And suddenly, having an athlete alongside him, he suddenly had a 3-metre gap, and he looked serene, doesn't he? And I really do, as I said, enjoy watching him run. The crowd, incidentally, they were watching Wheating. I know, Tim, you're concentrating at the front, but Andrew Wheating, they're just announcing to the crowd that I think it's the quickest ever by an Oregon athlete in the mile, and he ran very well indeed and won the race of the Americans, which Lagat was completely out of sorts with. Lopez Lamont was ahead of him as well. Wheating was the best that the Americans could offer here today, but they were nowhere near Mr. Kiprop.
Well, Kiprop
sails on.
Kiprop controlled things, and he fooled them, frankly, Steve, because he kicked quite viciously with 50 to go, and you just thought somebody might come past him and he'd be flat out. He had saved something. Very, very smart running. Wheating running 3:51 there for his first time under 4 minutes. That's really impressive for the youngster. 3:51.74.
It's a bit under 4 minutes, isn't it? Yeah. I'm just looking at the clock, though. The last lap is coming up as 57.93. Now, I'm not sure if that's been taken from the start line, i.e. 1 lap plus
that's
9
the
metres.
first lap, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. That's me being silly. But it wasn't one. But the point I was making about the race, it sort of was a wind-up rather than anything else. It's talking about winding up. We can have a look at what happened in the women's pole vault a little earlier on today. And this was certainly an event which the Americans were looking forward to. The lead in the world this year, and achieved just last week by Jen Scher, and we were hoping that she could win this one today. All the pressure was on her, and she was under some real competition from Mura of Brazil as well. It was difficult out there with the wind swirling, and so after a really disappointing pole vault, it was only 4:58 that was good enough, or was all that was required. And Fabiana Mura with another victory, and you have to say that she's been really at the top of her game this year. So Jen Scher in front of the home crowd here, just not able to perform, no heighting. Waited to come in at 4:58 and had 3 failures.
Well, look at that packed stand. They've enjoyed a wonderful afternoon's athletics, including this win from Irving Saladino, 8:46 from Dwight Phillips, who had to retire injured, couldn't take his final effort. Legion Z, 8:29 in 3rd place. Great jumping from the leading pair.
Yes, everywhere you looked, great performances, I think, with the exception of that women's pole vault, which was rather poor, as I've just said. Really top-level competition, and we finished with a real good climax in that men's mile.
We did indeed. Kiprop, the only man in isolation there. The winner under 3:50 for that 3:49 clocking. Lalu, great running there, 3:50.22. I believe that's his debut. Gebramed in 3:50 in 3rd place as well. And the place time is pretty useful too. Look at that, Mustawi, 8th, 3:53. Bernard Lagat very much out of sorts, 3:54 for the American record holder.
Well, it's been a great afternoon in Eugene, and these results will of course go around the world. Not too many Europeans here, though some good performances as they look towards their championships, which will begin in Barcelona at the end of July. But no championships, of course, for, as Tim was saying, for the Americans in particular. The African championships are also being held in August. And then, of course, Commonwealth Games, the only other championships, much later in the year in Delhi in October. But the Diamond League continues, heads back into Europe. Now 2 meetings in the States, New York, about 3 weeks ago, and Oregon today, the University of Oregon. It's been a wonderful host. The weather stayed kind, and with that wind blowing down the home straight, keeping just under about 2 minutes, it was almost perfect, Tim, wasn't it?
It was indeed, yes. And I'll tell you what, Steve, this has fulfilled everything I expected this meeting. As we see confirmation of the points there overall in the 1500/mile standings. Kiprop leading with 10 points over Choge's 4, Gebramedin's 4 as well. In the Diamond League standings, this of course the 6th of 14 meetings. Long way to go yet through this 2010 summer. The European Championships will cause a slight hiccup in proceedings, but prior to that there's plenty more to come. I think what we do have to say, Steve, is that the quality of performances in both these North American meetings, New York 3 weeks ago and here today in Eugene, has really shocked me. It's been of the very, very highest calibre.
This meeting, it wasn't just the odd good performances at the front, was it? There was strength in depth in many of the races. Lots of personal bests, lots of season's best, lots of meeting records, etc. And I guess it shows that one of the things the Diamond League has been asked to deliver is top quality performances. Head-to-heads, we had a few of them today. Great women's 100 metres, of course. Some very, very close races. And now, well, everybody will head back to Europe. 2 meetings this week, and that's it starts to get a little bit hectic over the next 2-3 weeks. And as Tim said, a bit of a break, and then finish with the sort of climax towards the end of the season, eventually Zurich and then Brussels. But it'll be Lausanne on Thursday. And let's hope they have better journeys than Mr. Lalu had, as Tim was explaining on his way out here to Oregon. And there'll be Gateshead next Saturday as well. Let's hope the weather is as kind in the northeast of England. So some of the highlights: David Oliver, 12.90 on the 110 metre hurdle. Superb performance from him. I thought Veronica Campbell-Brown was excellent in the 100 in a star-studded field. Kaki had an attempt at the world record right at the beginning of the meet over 1,000 metres, fell a little bit short, but was number 5 on the all-time list there. And of course a meeting record in the men's 200 to Walter Dix, defeating Tyson Gay on his comeback trail.
Yes, the pick of the field performance is probably that 22.41 from Christian Cantwell to down atop Shotfield once more.
Well, it's been a great day here in Eugene, Oregon. I hope you've enjoyed it. Those are all of the winners, and superb performances, as we picked out 1 or 2, but almost all of them, I said, sorry to single it out, but the women's pole vault was singularly uneventful, but the rest of it was of the very, very highest calibre in this Diamond League meeting. And there are the totals as they stand, and 1 or 2 stand out there. Cantwell with 16 points now after 4 shot put competitions. Demas, again with a 100% record, 3 wins out of 3 in the 400 hurdles as well. So that's pretty much it from Hayward Field. We've really enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed some wonderful competition. From Tim and I, it's goodbye.